and welcome back to my channel. So this channel is dedicated to my fibromyalgia journey and everything that happens in the life of someone who's suffering from invisible illness that's living a pretty normal life. So today I would like to tell my story of how I experienced fibromyalgia and how I eventually got diagnosed. And this is part one of this story, and I will start this from my childhood. According to my mother, I was born at 28 weeks in Belize and in this hospital, and I survived. So wow, that's like amazing to me. She said the doctors told her that I was sick in utero and I needed to be delivered as soon as possible. So she went ahead and got a C-section, and so I was born on the luckiest day of the luckiest month. And I was taken home, my mother said. She took me home and she prayed, for me. She's Caribbean, and it's religion is really big. Christianity is really big. And she prayed for me, and apparently I was born jaundiced. And it is commonplace in Belize to sun the picnic, or oil the child and stand out in the sun, and that should help with getting rid of the jaundice. So that's what she did to me. She said she oiled me up, put me in the sun, and cooked me for a few days. And she said when she took me back to the doctor, he was very surprised that I was alive. My mom loves telling me this story, and I really love listening to this story. And it meant more to me to hear the story, especially after my daughter was born. And like, I imagine if I was told something like that when my own child was born, like how I would feel and the things that I would do. And she was Mama Bear, and it was, thank you, Mom. Anyway, so she said during my infant years, I was like allergic to everything. And she had to be very careful with the things that she used on me, like laundry detergent, the kinds of foods that I ate, the kind of milk that I drank, and just people that I was exposed to. My aunt said she had never heard the word allergy so much, or allergic so much, until she met me. So you kind of get the idea. As I grew up, I was in my mind, like I don't really recall anybody ever telling me to my face, but I just had that feeling, the way my aunts and my uncles handled me, that I was frail or delicate, like don't handle too much, or don't rough house too much with me. And I remember playing with my cousins as normal kids do. I have at this point over 85 cousins, so I was not out of a friend at any stage in my life. And I remember playing with my cousins as normal, and we did normal cousin things. We did normal kid things, but I always had that feeling inside my body, like I feel kind of icky. You know what I mean? And I got tired. Like, I didn't have enough energy to play with them as I imagined in my mind I should have had, even as a kid. It didn't translate that same way as a kid, but you just feel like, I think I need to go sit down, or I think I need to go lie down, or I don't want to play today, or baseball and football is not my thing. I'd rather sit and watch, type of thing. And I never really got into like sports growing up, or any extracurricular activities at school. But we would climb trees and things like that in the evening time. If my grandmother saw us, she would like, get out the tree, it's gonna grow worms. If you're from the Caribbean, you know what that means. Anyway, so I started having chest pains around 8 or 9, and it was like at the right side of my chest, and it was like a tightness. I felt like a numbness in my arm. And then I had other symptoms too, like I was really tired, I was lethargic, I didn't have an appetite, you know. And so that's where the doctor visits started. And we just went from guy to guy to guy to guy. And everybody looked at me and said, "You're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine." So we finally met one guy. And I remember him very clearly. Like, he was like a huge, large, round person. Like, he filled up the whole chair, and I was looking at him and I'm like, wow, like you look really intimidating, you know. Whatever you say to do, I will do. He did a battery of tests, and then he said they found scar tissue in my blood, and from that he concluded that I had rheumatic heart disease. They started me on medication right away. I immediately went and got a penicillin shot that hurt for like a whole month. My butt was hurting for like a whole month. And then he started me on penicillin, actual penicillin, prednisone, and a crazy, insane amount of aspirin. Because he said I had a heart condition. My mom was really concerned because she was a nurse and she had had kids die in her arms of this disease. So for me, like, I didn't know like what it meant. And then when I got home, my grandma was like, "What did the doctor say?" And then I was like, "I have rheumatic heart disease," you know, because I'm like a little kid, so I don't really know like what this means. Nobody in my family were alarmed. Nobody acted scared, or they didn't have any like behavior that made me feel like it was something serious. But I was taking all these bunch of pills. We never got a second opinion at this point. So I wasn't allowed to carry my backpack or get frightened or this kind of thing. My sister was helping me do that. It was really like go slow. And the prednisone like really like plumped me up, you know. The aspirin started giving me ringing in my ears. And the penicillin was like, I hated taking that because it tasted badly. And I wasn't swallowing capsules or pills as yet, so my mom would mix it with condensed milk and give it to me. It was horrible. Sometimes I took it in my sleep, and I didn't even know I took it. A few years later, when I was about 13 years old, I started having like a really bad pain in my stomach, you know, like the lower part of my stomach on the right side. Sorry, the pain in my chest was left side. Anyway, so I started having these pains in my stomach on my right side. And then my mom, she was like really concerned. She thought it was appendicitis because my grandmother had appendicitis, and her being a nurse, you know, she's really careful about these symptoms. So I went to the hospital for an overnighter. It was nothing, but that left side chest pain and the right side lower abdominal pain like never stopped. And so like every time I would get like a new pain, it would never stop. It would just like add on to what I already had that was hurting. In addition to that, I had a lot of gastric problems. I couldn't eat just whatever I wanted. I was always sick to my stomach. I always had the runs, or I was probably vomiting a few times more than like normal kids. I was always feeling queasy, but I thought it's like, you know, it was just bad belly, like we say in the Caribbean, and I thought I just got it from my dad because he was always having these kinds of problems. I don't know if he wants me to say it anyway. So I just like, they just started to keep adding on, you know, like the different things just kept adding on and adding on and adding on. Finally, we went to see a doctor in the city, in Belize City, because the chest pain was, the left-sided chest pain was still happening, and I had thrown all the medicine away after a a year or so of taking them. No, I was still taking them. So we went to the city to see a doctor about the left side chest pain because I was going to start high school and we needed to make sure that I was okay for riding the bus and, you know, all that kind of work that high school entails. Like, it was so hard. You know, now looking back, I was like, I should give him more trouble. And that was a turning point in my life when I went to see this guy. Because by that time, I was tired of seeing doctors. Because as soon as something would hurt, I would be there, you know? And I had had enough of that. And every time I come back, they would give me pills. And like, I didn't know what any of this stuff is. And why do I need to take it? And can we ask somebody else? And, you know, he did some checks on me. He listened to my heart. He did an EKG. And he did, I think, one more test, but I'm not sure. It was non-invasive though. And he pulled out a book. And he turned to a page and he said, "This is your rib cage. There are muscles inside and out of your rib cage. These are intercostal muscles, and when you breathe, these muscles work in conjunction with each other to lift your rib cage and push it out so your lungs, so your expanding lungs can have room. What you are experiencing is not a heart disease. This is called costochondritis." Can you say that? Mytilene, can you say that? And I was like shocked. I don't remember if I repeated it, but I was looking in the book and I saw, it was the first time I saw inside of an anatomy book. The colorful pages, all the veins and the muscles, and you know, it was one of those books that had like the clear film, and every time you turn the page, like it would layer one system on top of the other. And I was so fascinated by it, and I'm like, wow, I need to know more. And he did not give me any pills. He sent me home. He said, "You're fine." He said, "When you feel this, breathe. Exercise the muscles. You're feeling pain in your muscle. You're not feeling pain in your heart." And for me, I was still like, okay, so it's not a heart condition. So what is it? It's costochondritis. What is that? What causes that? How do you stop it? How do you make it go away? And so during this time, I had still that pain in my lower right abdomen. The doctor ended up telling me, "Oh, it's your ovary. After you have kids, it will go away." Fast forward, it didn't go away. I still have it. I still had that gastric problem, and I was really easily fatigued. Fast forward to my second year of high school, and I had a terrible accident at school that really changed my life. But I won't get into that in this video. I will do that in my next video. And if you've made it this far and you want to hear more of my fibro story, please subscribe. If you liked the first part of my story, you can go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you have your own fibro story, or someone you know suffers from an invisible illness, please tell us your story in the comments. I really want to hear from you. And until then, live your best life. Bye.